Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Mystic podcast, and I'm your host, Rahul N Singh. Uh, so it's been some time since I've obviously recorded a podcast and kind of spent some time. I know that I kind of promised in the last one that I would do more episodes, and just life got busy. And actually, a lot has changed in my life since the last time I recorded an episode. Since then, I lost my dad. He died last month, and it's been an interesting journey in grief in the sense of obviously there's the pain of missing that person, knowing that that person will no longer be able to, be on a video call or just seek that person's advice and seek that person's kind of just general chit chat. And one has to come to terms with, well, what is really lost in this time and in this moment. And what I've observed in this month since dad's died is coming to terms with uh, facing that loss and facing that loss really directly and looking at it and observing, well, what is coming up here. And sometimes it's the fact that we are addressing the loss, we're addressing the regrets, we're addressing, we wish that something would have happened, or we wish that we could have done this, we wish that we were quicker on this, or and all these thoughts come up, and what I've realized is that these thoughts are kind of like a layer of the ego that expected something different, would like something different, but at the same time, there is this awareness that I couldn't change anything and I can't change anything, but I can deal with and I can be at peace with whatever I'm feeling right now. So when I feel sad, I can be at peace at feeling sad. When I'm feeling happy, I can feel at peace at being happy. And there's lots of positive things that happen from this. One, it was obvious that my dad's body was suffering. Uh, and thanks to modern medicine, that suffering can be reduced. And he didn't have to stay long in comfort care. That's a blessing. And in the end, the timing was perfect. I was able to be there during the final moments. There's a lot for me to be grateful for. And I wasn't robbed of that. You know, time and space couldn't rob me of that. And that's a positive. And it's interesting. We never see grief as something positive. We always see it as a negative feeling or a sad feeling, or we see sadness as a bad thing. When you just see it as an expression of the mind, you just let it be. And I think that's the biggest comfort I have found is just letting things be. And you do that more when you're kind of actually just in the present moment, when you don't let your thoughts spiral you into some sort of emotion. So when you're in that emotion, you're not getting drowned in it, you're not getting hurt by it, you're not getting affected by it. And so you just let the emotions be. And I have found that the teachings that, I've expressed in these episodes have been beneficial when it comes to dealing with the loss. I even remember during the time uh, when the doctor came in to say, Dad, is no longer with us. Uh, and, to be fair, I don't know how long Dad had been dead for, to be honest with you, because it took some time for the doctors to come in. But regardless of the timing, whenever that was announced, obviously I just felt this sudden crash of emotions. I could feel the crashing happening. And then at the same time, there was this awareness that was like, 1 second, before you crash, let's just um, do our prayer, our Sumiran, our remembrance. I remember our true nature in this time. And that strength came from, I could only say, from something other than me, the story of Rahul, the son that had lost a dad. And it came from something else. And I recognized that. And in that moment, when we did the prayer, it just felt right. It felt like this was the right thing to do because it's very easy to drown ourselves in grief and think of just the loss that we've had. And yet, it's interesting. Instead of seeing, and what I felt was really interesting was that memories are not loss, actually. They're the things that you still have. And all the memories of dad came up, and I realized that he meant a lot more to me than I ever anticipated. And uh, and he was a complex person. So there were, I mentioned this at the funeral. There's lots of things I loved about him. There's lots of things I did not like about him. But in the end, he is definitely and will remain a massive reason why a massive cause behind my spirituality. And I will never forget that. And for that, he only added to my life. He, uh, in fact, I always thought my dad was kind of money minded because whenever he had a chance, he would talk about money. But it was interesting. Um, but a lot of the times with me, even though there may be a topic about money, there will also be a lot of spiritual conversation. And in the end, all I can say is that that added to my life. He 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 didn't uh, he didn't leave me at a loss in any way, and he he kind of gave me a doorway into this type of wisdom where I'm able to deal with grief in a very controlled, in a very natural manner. Actually, when I say control, maybe more natural, in the sense of I'm not denying my feelings. And neither am I allowing myself to spiral in those feelings. So the moment I'm in those feelings, I feel them. But the moment I realize that I am a witness to these feelings, I'm the observer, I come to peace. And then I realize, and it's not like the feelings disappear straight away. They're there. But the more one remains as the witness or as consciousness, you've realized actually nothing was gained or lost in this moment because what I was seeing was just a reflection of that consciousness. And so dad's true nature and my true nature is one and the same, and it always has been and will always be, because that true nature of consciousness does not disappear when somebody goes or when someone comes into your life. So and this is obviously after understanding somewhat this wisdom. Prior to understanding this wisdom, this doesn't sound like anything. It's more probably wishy washy than anything. Um, but when you realize it, when you experience it, then it makes sense. So, although yes, I'm dealing with loss, I'm also dealing with loss with gratitude that I got to spend the final moments with dad. I got to be there for the funeral, and it was all natural timing, somewhat divine timing. in my opinion. Like I had no control. Like I look back at the whole events and none of it makes sense to me. The timing of when I decided when I'll come back from England, when I'll go to England, everything seemed to have been perfect. And it's really weird to say that because look, my dad was going to die anyway, but to be there during that last, 3 weeks of his life is a blessing and an honor. And I think nobody can take that away from me. And uh, all I felt during that time was that I was able to just be present. I think that's really everything. So um, I don't think, I don't think I have um, much to say other than, a lot of people say, make sure you love your dear ones, make sure you show your love to your loved ones. Everyone says these things, but I think it's more important to learn how to deal with grief, how to deal with loss in a more measured way when the time is right. Uh, you know, for example, there were times when I would allow myself to feel the emotions and and have a breakdown and feel absolutely comfortable, but remembering that there is nothing but pure consciousness here. And when I wanted to feel the physical loss, I allowed myself to feel the physical loss. So what I'm trying to say here is that don't deny feelings. Advaita or non-dual wisdom never tells us to deny those feelings or to avoid those feelings or to attract those feelings. You just let things be as natural as possible. And uh, and that is again a blessing. So during this time, I would even say that my support system has been great. Like so many people part of the community that's been so helpful. Even a member of, a listener of this podcast was very um, supportive during this time, and and has been. And I think having that sense of community, having that sense of loved ones and friends who are with you during this process is so important. And I think this is possibly one thing where I say society needs to understand that, yes, although we are individuals, when we have a community, we can deal with things a lot better. And when we take comfort in the community, we can actually find strength that's not just our own, but discover that strength that others are showing to us and showing that this is a possibility within you. And so, and then just obviously remembering your true nature is so important in these times because, again, our time on this earth is so limited that it's very, in my opinion, very important to understand that jivan-mukti is the purpose and is the goal. One thing that was beautiful about Dad's death was he remembered his true nature right till the end. And that, they say, is a blessing to have, that you remember the Lord at the end. Sri Krishna talks about it in the Bhagavad Gita that, the one that remembers me at the end, meaning him as true consciousness, as pure consciousness, that that one enters into him, or one merges into him, or one is one with him. And in a way, we are dying every second. So if we understand that teaching, then we need to be in remembrance of our true nature, abiding in formless awareness as much as possible. So that's the important message that I want to lead with here, and leave you with. That remember that your true nature is the most important thing, and having that sense of community to help you grow, to help you sustain your faith, and help you to sustain your devotion is very important. And never use loss as a reason to go away from spirituality or to uh, lose that connection to the community. It's really important to maintain that. And, you know, it's very easy for Maya or disappearance to take hold of you. Um, I have felt it, but it's really important to just let ourselves be more spiritual during this time and allow that spiritual teaching to marinate within us and to allow it to grow. So that's really all I wanted to share today. And obviously, I'm just trying to think of ways to express more or share more on this podcast. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you to those that helped me and are helping me during this time. I'm thankful to my Satguru, to my Guru, and um, uh, to Satguru Mataji and to Ningai Rajpitaji for their help in this and for their love and support. And you see, love is really so formless in the sense of you don't need sometimes physical touch to help you. Um, Sometimes it's just that message and that feeling that that message gives you can sometimes make you feel better anyway. Um, Grateful to my family, whether that's my brothers, whether that's my mom, whether that's, obviously my son, my, as I say, in-laws, but they're my own parents, um, to obviously to my wife, most importantly, my wife, because in the end, that's where I share most of my feelings with, and that's whom I confide in a lot of things that I deal with. So just and then just close friends of the satsang that I go to, um, they know who they are, and um, just grateful for their support and their love during this time. That it's given me strength to deal with the everyday um, kind of uh, everyday kind of living with this grief. Yeah, no one can bring dad back, and nothing, no circumstance can bring dad back. But and that physical manifestation is gone now, and this is the perfect time to learn detachment and to detach even from emotions now, in the sense of if I still have that longing to see him again, that means I just maintained a physical connection to dad. And it's interesting because during the last few months with dad, I kind of spoke about Nijghar, which means the inner home. And I kept saying to dad, you know your inner home, so why are you worried about death? And I would keep, whenever he would mention it in a negative way, like death, I would say, well, why are you scared? You know your true nature. And I would keep talking to him like that. And ultimately, if I realize my own Nijghar, I'm never far from my dad. I'm always, in fact, one with dad because we've always been this one consciousness at all times. And we don't have this appearance of separation at all. And neither is there this sense of unity because there's only oneness. And so it's a very deep teaching. And again, only life's experience can actually take you there. So, again, super grateful, grateful to everyone. And again, I just pray that if you are going through a time like this where it's tough for you, just remember that um, you can always send me a message. I will always respond back, sometimes delayed, but I do respond back. And I just want you to know that um, whether we meet in person or whether you just listen to me and that's all you do is like listen to my podcast and I've never spoken to you directly, just know that I also love you. And even if, well, there's no point saying to those that don't listen to the podcast, I love you because they're not going to hear it, but I love them too. So just the greatest feeling you can give to anyone is to make them feel loved and cared for, and to have compassion in your heart for them. And I think that's the most important thing that I've learnt in this time as well. So lots of things I've learnt and I've shared with you, and it's just wonderful to be back to share things with you and hopefully share more things with you as we go along with this podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Take care. Namaste.